guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. Problem before I know what's going on. If we go over here and we look at these, this resistor and that resistor are brown. Obviously so. So we look around the circuit, and what I mean by look around the circuit, we look around at the parts. 1,000 puff, 1,000 puff, 1,000 puff. These need to be 330s. They're all 1,000 puff. Now, with the HG, what some builders don't know is that you've got to drop the input capacitance drastically. These are 220 puff is what they've got in here. They need to be taken down to 180s. So if we change these to 330s and change these down to 180s, this heating issue will disappear over here and the output power will go up. Now, the other thing that we've got going on is this here. Okay, you cannot run 150 Anderson clamp, 150 amp Anderson clamp on something that pulls 400 amps worth of current. That's a big no there, Captain. Now, this I don't feel is safe. This is unlocked down, but I'm sure that's relatively close. No, it's not going to move for the most part, but I like to tape it in place. We're going to run it as it sits, and we're going to watch what's going to happen. And we're going to look at this with a FLIR, and we're going to cover this. So, I shall return. Wow. So now if we go over here and we look, that is the outline of a very hot resistor. This little buddy, which you can't see because the camera doesn't pick up the friggin' screen resolution that well. The little buddy back here is a little warm too. That one's getting hot. So that shows us that we have an imbalance. Now, where that imbalance is indicative of is the 2879 1608 HGs. These guys. Okay. Hopefully that's an email from my new MOSFET sponsor. We're going to change these out, and then we're going to watch what this does to the tune. So we're getting 2,000 watts peak out of here. We've got a full water reflect here, and we're pulling 100 and some amps. So that gives us a good baseline, and this resistor is the one that's getting hot. We shall return. Just got off the phone with the customer of these, and he has decided instead of repairing all these boxes, he wants me to sell them for him. I said, okay, we can do that. Let's put that on there. God knows it earned it. Okay, so changed a little bit of shit in here, like all of these parts here. And like I said in the first video, we replaced all of the 1,000 puffers here with 330s. And then we changed the input capacitance. We dropped them down from the 220 all the way down to 180. And that got rid of our heating issue that we had over here in the combiner unit, as I showed in the previous segments. Went ahead and went to a variable tuner. Then we added 5 waters on the input splitters, 5 waters on the output splitters, and 5 waters on the output combiner units, or output combiner, pardon me, and put 5 watts over here on the the final stage combiner units. Or combiners, final stage combiner. Whew, man, I am not flying on first gear today. I'm like down in third. Anywho, yeah, we got the input tuned down nice and low. No more heating in the combiner because we changed these caps over here. It's a big hint to people, by the way. The HGs, you could tweak a couple things on them. First, let's shut this off. Now, before I was running it with just the 955 hitting it. So we'll shut this off and we're going to just hit the 955. So now we're down on a 1000 watt scale. 1000 watt scale. In peak, average, 5 watt slug in reverse, 50 watt slug between the 2-pill driver, and then of course the 955 5 watt slugger between the 955. Okay. So you drive. Hello, about 90 watts. So 90 watts in gets us. Hello. Buries it in a corner. Let's click that up to 2x. Hello. About 1800 watts. So we picked up 400 watts by having it tuned out this way. And no heating in the combiner. Okay. Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Everything's happy. So we're doing about 1800 and some change. So now we're going to bring the 2-pill into play. Turn the 16-pill off. 2-pill, 2000 watt scale. Hello. Hello. About 450 watts peak drive. So now, put down the microphone and not drop it in the middle of the box. Let's go down to the 5x scale. 5. Okay. So now we're reading that middle scale, adding a couple zeros. Hello. 550 watts on that scale. Let's go ahead and bring the 16-pill online. Hello. Hello, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello. Hello. Total of 4 watts of input reflect, about 5.5 going in. Hello. We're getting about 3,800 peak out of it. 14 volts. So, solved. The great mystery has been solved. Next step, I'm going to put the tin on it, get it boxed up, and get it ready to go on to its new owner. Now, I think we're asking right at $3,000 for this little 16-pill. Period. You pay the ride. Now, guys, I have been shooting a bunch of repair videos for the same guy, and he just told me today he wants to liquidate everything. So, where we're going to go from here is I'm going to start shooting repair / for sale videos for everything else that we do so far. So this guy's for sale. Call me if you're interested. $3,000 flat, and that does not include the ride, which we can calculate out and get shipped to you. Very, very simple. Okay, on to the next one, which I do believe is a Hopper built 1x4. Well, let's talk about this little Joker amp. This amplifier, this is its 3rd time here. That sounds bad, but it's really not. This was built by a gentleman by the name of Peekaboo. Peekaboo used to run a little forum called Mall Droppers. I'm not too sure. I haven't bothered to check in on the Mall Droppers crew lately. As far as I can tell, there's about 10 or 12 guys that sat around and into a sock, and they would sit around and they just basically, as far as I can tell, it was before Facebook. It was designed, I think, initially to be a forum of knowledge for us radio operators, and it devolved into something else. So I'm not going to get into that. But anyhow, the primary ringleader of the bunch was a gentleman that eventually ended up buying Mall Droppers, and his CB handle is Peekaboo. You know, I've been doing this now for a hot minute. Right, you guys, this whole standing in front of you and talking about things, and one of my original detractors way back in the days, you'll never guess. So, as far as I can tell, they just kind of ragged on everybody if it wasn't directly involved in their little clique. So I don't feel personally insulted by any means. And I got nothing against this guy. I mean, he was just going along with the crowd, you know, that kind of guy. But the original owner of this thing, who bought it from Peekaboo, and it's when he was producing amps, supposedly, sent this out here because he wasn't able to get a hold of him anymore. I repaired it then. It required a transistor replacement at that time. I put a new transistor in it. It went back to the guy. He ran it for another couple of years. Then it went for sale on eBay. The guy on eBay bought it, who happens to be a friend of mine, good friend of mine, Bubba. Bubba took it, sent it out here for me to do a full review on it, and you guys can go back and check that out. I will make sure to put the link in the video below, or in the comments below, in the comment section below, of me doing the review of this amp top to bottom. And I actually went back and I looked at that video today, just so I could have a reference on what this box needed to do. And Bubba ran this in his car for a long time. He had a lot of fun with it. Sold the car, pulled the amp out, put the amp on eBay. Guess what? Because it was said in the comments that I had worked on it, somebody else bought it. Otherwise, the people wouldn't have had a clue who built it. The guy that bought it, he ran it for a long time, I think about 1.5 years. And then he ended up burning up a resistor on it, on the input side. And because he runs watt meters on everything, he just overdrove it a little bit, put a little bit too much into it. No problem, the resistor did its job. It failed in the way it was supposed to fail. And he put the tin on it and said, man, I'm going to send it up to you. I want you to go through it, fix it, sell it. Since then, this gentleman has bought himself a lot of bigger equipment. Now I think he's running on a 3, thinking about going to a 10. It's hard to keep up on the storylines. There's so many of them running through my little head. But this is the only example of a Peekaboo built amplifier. This one right here is floating around the web. When I go to the web and I type in Peekaboo amplifiers, nothing. I type in Joker amplifiers. Once again, nothing. I get redirected to a whole bunch of mall dropper comments and forums and stuff, but I can't find any pictures. So if you go and you look, you'll find that there's about 4 pictures on Google that all come from a video that I shot of this guy. Now, what we have here is the Texas Star repurposed heatsink. This is anodized. That means it's going to be able to dissipate just a little bit more heat. Anodized coating has a tendency to be able to dissipate, suck up, absorb, transmit, connect. Let's see, what's other adjectives I could use? Transmit, conduct, carry away, flow current to. The anodized coating is just slightly better than the actual aluminum substrate itself. Okay, so that means it can carry heat better. But this is a completely repurposed 667 heatsink. Now somebody did a really cute job. They did diamond plate for the body, which is still in really good condition for 3 owners. Now, like I said, Bubba ran this thing forever in the back of his car. And as you can tell, the front of this thing isn't all scuffed and cuffed and cut up. It's got decent sized power wires going to it. But it reminds me a lot of a stickman style of building on the inside. The combiner network is a lot of stickman building. It's not electrically correct by any means, but it works well-ish. Relays are a little bit undersized, but it does have a really cool remote. A fully interactive remote. I don't have the remote here. The guy that sent the amplifier to me did not send the amp. Pardon me. The guy that sent the amplifier to me did not send the remote. There we go. Got it around the second time. I had to hit rewind in my brain. Sorry. Did not send me the remote. So I will make sure that the remote gets to you, whoever ends up owning this thing next. This cannot stay here. I don't want it here. It's been here and been here and been here. They burned up this resistor right here. I replaced the exact same value resistor because I don't want to go too far away from the great Peekaboo teachings. If I do, some creatures might jump out of the trees in the jungle and whip me to death. Just saying. The mall dropper forum will pay me back. I guarantee it. Tongue in cheek. My biggest concern with this amplifier when I did the review for it was this homemade mini coax. Knowing that 316DS and 316 coax itself is about 25 cents a foot, and there's about a foot worth of coax in here, I couldn't understand why he didn't use, because he is the great peekaboo. The great all-knowing, all-speaking Jesus comes and confers to him when it comes to writing the Ten Commandments on amplifier manufacture, why he made his own coax. I never understood that, but it works. So if you are a big peekaboo fan out there and you've always wanted to have your hands on the legendary peekaboo equipment, this is the only example in circulation that I've ever been able to find. Like I said, over 3,000 plus repairs underneath my belt. Taking into account I've got 700 or 800 boxes here, that means before I'm done it'll be close to 4,000 plus repairs. You think I'd be tripping over these things every once in a while, and this is the only example of his handiwork I've ever seen. Electrically it's sound, and it works well. We are on 14 volts. We're going to start on 1X. 1,000 watt slug and peak, 1,000 in average, 5 watt slug and reverse. 5 watt slug and reverse between the 2950 and the 2x6. This is two 2879s driving 6 2879s, which means it's incredibly low drive. Please do not call me and proceed to tell me that you want to hook up a striker to this, or your 100 watt HP Galaxy or some Connex. That's not what this is designed for. It's designed for a Cobra 29 or a way turned back 2950 like this here. We're going to put about 20 watts into it. Low drive. And no, I will not bypass the driver's section on this amplifier. I will not. I will not. So don't ask. It's, remember, one-of-a-kind artifact, as far as I can tell. Anyhow, okay. Oh, still got the amp on. We'll turn the amp off. Hello. Hello. There's 20 watts worth of drive with a half a watt dead key. So half watt dead key going in produces about 180 watt dead key. 600 plus bird on an average Joe Schmo radio. We're taking that peak slug and we're putting it in a corner. Input tune, balanced. And that's the variable all the way open. Okay, so let's go over here and we're going to go to the 2X position. For those that you don't know, right here, this hash mark right there is 1,000 watts. Full deflection is 2. So 1,000, 12, 14, 16, 18, 2,000. Hello. Hello. About 1,600 watts PEP. Exactly what it's supposed to do. So now let's go hook up the Dero radio. We'll see what we can get out of it for max bird watts. I was just talking with the owner of Fat Boy tonight, and talking about how things have changed in Cycom 7300. Here's the Dero radio. Talking about how things are changing in the radio world. He's telling me stories about stuff. I love the old time stories. I love hearing them. He's explaining to me how things have changed in his lifetime, and I was explaining to him how things have changed just in my time in the little radio world, which it's coming up on 8 straight years now of being out here on Public Street for you all to play with and enjoy. It's just been interesting. One of the things that's happened is the radio world got wise to the fact that your bird watts are totally determined by your AM injection source in your radio. So even though we're going to produce the same, hello, and I don't even know the dynamic up on this thing here, hello, roughly the same 20 watts of input power, the bird numbers are going to radically change because of the way the AM stage in this radio is set up. Hello, hello, a little bit less on the peak numbers, as you can see over here. Hello. about 100 watts less. But our average numbers, we just picked up 400 bird. And all we did was change radios. So I was making a joke about how in the beginning when I first came out, and these guys were giving me a lot of crap, way back in the day. I was telling Tony, I said, man, listen, everybody was all about the bird watts in the beginning. Now that number's kind of a variable, depending on what radio you have, right? So it's not the amp that makes the bird watts, it's the amount of AM induced modulation into the carrier, okay? So now the only actual valid unit of measure that we have that stays consistent between radio to radio to radio is the peak watts, which is still even debatable in itself. So it's kind of interesting. It's just off topic, I know. Guys, this amp is for sale. It's got to go away from here completely. We're asking $800 for this. Remember, what you're buying is basically 8 Toshiba transistors at $110 a piece. We're losing money on this deal. But it's 8 good old Japanese-made technology. 2 2879s driving 6 2879s. Now, as we go forward, and I get stronger in my mind and grow out my courage, and my man chest hair starts to sprout farther away from my man boobs, there's this switch right here. It is a lie. This is not a biased amplifier. It runs in Class C, 100% ground reference. It is not capable of running on sideband whatsoever. No, I will not add bias to this, so you can run it on sideband. I want this to stay just exactly the same way it is. So when it comes back here in another 2 or 3 years, because it's the only functional peekaboo amplifier we've seen ever come through this shop, it'll be exactly the same, and I'm sure it'll be going on to get his 5th or 6th home at that point. Which is fine, I'm totally cool with that. But as we can clearly see, every transformer goes to ground. So this is our sideband delay, which is done through these 2 little caps, which is woefully inadequate for sideband anyhow. I think it is just so that they can run the dead key low enough, is what it is. You guys know the routine. If you're interested in buying this beautiful one-off piece of creation, which works well, very well. I'm a little afraid to put it on the spectrum analyzer, but it doesn't really matter, it works. You know the deal. Just give me a call or text this number. I'll get you squared away. $800 firm. Gentlemen, on to the next one. Here we go. This is going to be interesting. I just opened this. It had the wrong size screws in it. The case screws are 632 on these cabinets that we get from ICA. Let me disconnect the fan, which isn't... That little fan is worthless. It does almost nothing. I remember back when I used to use them, and there's all kinds of heating issues that would take place with the boxes, so I got to change that out before that leaves here. This is a Beavis built donkey stomper, 1x4. I've got about 8 or 9 of these units in the shop right now. There's a mixture of a lot of different schools of thought going on in here. This is a rub off of me at 5 watt resistors. That's good. That's good. It's just missing some fundamental things. And the way this box is set up, some of the things are fundamentally wrong in it. Like, there are no chokes on the positive leads whatsoever, going out to the outside world, which is bad. Way overwrapped. Isolation chokes here on the positive rails, but he's got the wires for the positive rails running down through the center of the transformers, which is never a good thing. This isn't his current building style, by the way. This is a lot of different things going on in here. I got to pull those out. I'm going to put them on the outside of the transformer. There's a reason that we use cylindrical tubes on the inside, and we make the wire pass inside that tube. You're basically adding to the induction field as the wire's going through. We just want the transformer to do its job in flux. So you got to change that. This whole setup here is We're not going to even start. That's got to change. This whole circuit's got to change, actually. Couldn't even cut the lead off the bottom end of the resistor. He's just kind of got it tucked underneath the capacitor, the Arco, which I'm not a big fan of using these in a mobile. Not at all. They have a tendency to jiggle loose, and then they change the capacitance level. Now, let's go look at the one-pill driver section. What's our capacitance level down here? 680. 330. Oh boy. 680. Well, that's close to 1,000, but there's, so that's 1,000. They're supposed to have 3,000 picofarad worth of capacitance here. Okay, so you got 680, a 330, or 680, a 680, a 330, a 680. What is that? You know what? It's got to come out of there. Let's just take it out anyhow. See, what do we got? There we go. Come on. You had all the legs twisted together on the cabs. So that's a 680. Let's just take them all out. Screw it, right? We're here. Might as well, right? Remember, our goal is 3,000 puff. And that's to help emulate or simulate the load of its paired transistor and help this transistor that's in here work as a single-ended device. So we very quickly took out all these caps. This is a 380, 380, 680, 680, and a 680. So 12, 18, almost 1,000 puffs short. Way off. Way off. Now, what I do dig is the two wires feeding. This is the output side, by the way. This should be 1,000, so that's appropriate. But what we've got going on here is our ground lead for the output side is on this side, and our ground lead for the input side is on this side. That makes this input transformer out of phase with the output transformer. That's going to cause a lot of problems. So either I can rewrap this, or I completely rebuild this end of the box. I'm going to rebuild all of this anyhow. I'll probably, I'll figure that out. But I've got to change this around. These have got to be in phase. So right now this is our dump to ground side, and over here is our dump to ground side. It's our terminus for ground, terminus for ground. And they have to be in line with each other, like over here. Ground, 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 ground. That puts everything in phase with each other. So that way there's no cross cancellation. So I got to pull these leads up, and I got to put ferrite on both of these leads to help it isolate from the outside world. I better use disc capacitors. No, they're 103s. Okay, so we're good there. Do this, change this, put the right value of capacitance here. These 103s or 104s. 103s. Now let's make sure that's a 120. It is 120. At this point, we're questioning everything. Okay. Well, oh no, wait a minute. There's one stuffed in here off to the side. So maybe he was off by 300 puff. There's another 680 that was stuffed in here. I'll pull it out. We'll put the right value caps in there, and we're going to move on. So let me go ahead and rework this, and then we can play with the input tune and see how far off we are. Woo! All right. Well, we got rid of this power distribution network. We got rid of this Power Super Flux 8 gauge. God, doesn't even feel like anything's in my hand. What's in there? Let's look. I'm curious. BBI is curious. Oh, yeah, mostly jacket. This is copper, or aluminum. It has been copper coated. We've seen this before. I'm going to just throw that away. It's not necessary anymore. I'm going to throw all this away. There was a twist tie in there for some reason. And we're going to take this broken knob and we're going to throw it away. Okay. So I put a new knob on the front of this thing. And we changed how this is all wired here. Did a different power distribution system in here. Changed out the power wire, changed out the grommet so it actually fit properly around the wires. And we're running about 14 volts. This does have a sideband delay in it, this down switch. Supposedly sideband. These are our delay capacitors over here. It's Class C, so you can't run on sideband. It's the same conversation we had on the last amplifier. So, let's go ahead and show you what our pass-through tune is. Hello. Pass-through tune's good. Let me show you how much drive we're putting into it. Hello. Which is good, about 20 watts. Turn the amp on. Got the variable all the way open. Hello. 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 Let's see what our input tune is. Hello. Yeah. We'll be back. We'll be back. Uh-oh. It's spooging. Second can of clear, I went to spray it. And it freaking blew up my hand. Okay, so got a little bit of clear coat going on now. So this thing will never disintegrate. What we did is, man, I glued my wedding ring, or painted my wedding ring to my finger. What we did is we bypassed all the gobbledygook that was in there. Got rid of basically these 4 capacitors and replaced them with 2. Changed the input tune around quite a bit. And got rid of the HXS. Yeah. Replaced it with a 12 volt, almost 1 amp draw, so it means it's going to be fairly high scoochum. Did a good choke and a good safety resistor on the ground. This thing's right. I'm going to do our same 20 watts of drive. If you can remember correctly, it was making about 550, almost 600 watts peak. Now with the power wire upgrades and everything actually in tune, went ahead and took out the flyback resistor that goes between the 2 transformers. It's not necessary. Yeah, just basically lined it out. 20 watts of drive. Box on, variable all the way open. Hello. 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 1 2 1 2. Hello. Hello. About 400-ish bird. Hello. Just a hair over 950 watts. That's with 20 watts of drive. 14.5 volts. So it's scooching. It's running. Let me hook up the fan. We'll see how loud it is. Oh, yeah. It had a bunch of these weird, I don't know, sheet metal screws holding the tin on. These guys. Which is way wrong. So let's go over here to the shelf of proper thread pitch and screws, which is 632 by the way, just in case. Now X-Force there towards the end changed to, what was it, a 1032 or whatever it was. Not a 1032. What did they do? They went to an 832. That's what it was. Make sure I grab the right bag here. So, let's throw some screws in it. How do I know this will work? Because the PIM nuts are still intact. The threads have not been butchered too badly. Nice. Move air. I miss these old little 2x4 cabinets like this. They've gotten a little bit hard to get here lately. Supply chain issues. I don't know how much of this is actually Mr. Chad Jolie's work and what's not. I don't concern myself with those things. We're going to get to become very familiar with them here in the near future. Like I said, I've got 5 or 6 more donkey stompers sitting over here for repair. A bunch of Tin Man stuff. I got a little bit of everybody's over here. It's just the nature of the beast of being in the repair business. Trying to pick on anybody or make anybody feel bad, but if my shit breaks, everybody's shit breaks. It's just what it is. And I just document what I see when the stuff comes in. So now that we've completely overhauled it, it's got a decent fan in it. Here. Relatively quiet. Relatively quiet. One. Remember, that was 1.5 watts. Almost 2 watts worth of input reflect. So, what it comes down to at the end of the day is we got ourselves a donkey stomper, 1x4. A Chad Beavis built, Chad Jolie built, BB6 or BB500, challenge accepted. I'm assuming that this means RMS power, right? I'm getting a 400 bird with the Shlomo everyday, not hopped up shootout amplifier or radio. Let's see if it puts out a little bit more 500 my way on a derail radio. Who wants to place a bet? Anybody? Anyone? 550. Just a hair over the outside. Now look at the peak number difference. 600. Okay. Sorry. Getting off topic here. Just thought I'd play. Look, guys, it is what it is. Little 1x4. It's got HGs in it. I think we'll let this go for $500. I think that sounds fair. About 500 plus the ride. So you guys know the routine at this point. If you're interested in the donkey stomper that has been rebuilt by me with a BBI sticker on it, call or text that number. I'll help you get it. Okay, I think we're going to wrap this for sales segment here. And we're going to get that out for everybody to look at. But man, I got a whole bunch more to go. Let's see, what do I got left over here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6 or 7 left. I think we'll make that in part 2. So here is part 1 of the sales video. I'm going to slap this together and let you guys take a look at it. Some good boxes, you guys. They're going to make power for you. Anyhow, on that note, bump bump. The biggest duck in Idaho. Enjoy. Give me a call if I can help you get some power in your world. Yay, more repairs. Woo!